It's hot.
It's kind of like English, but it's not going to fit.
Okay, I've got 5 o'clock. We'll call to order the Montego Municipal Regional Planning Commission. Roll call. Ed is not going to be here, I know. Greg Maloof here. Dan Sargent
Here.
Dan Brown
Here.
Alec Mosley
Here.
Katie Trahan.
Here.
Richard Black here. Before we get started, Nate, I know you've got some business to take care of tonight, but could you give us an update on
Sure.
what's going on with Imagine Legal?
Sure. Thank you guys for indulging me early. I got to go walk my daughter onto senior night tonight, so I got to get out of here. So as y'all know, we've been interviewing consultants. Thank you all for I think several of you have been to several of the presentations. So most recently, we had Keith Covington from Common Ground Land Use Planning come and present. He did not submit for the original RFQ because we couldn't meet his timelines, but in conversation with him, as our timelines have moved, he has become, he's gotten some of the projects done that he had been working on. So he is going to submit us a proposal, so that means we'll have 3 proposals, and what these are now is these are all revised proposals. So if y'all have been to any of the meetings, you know that we had conversations with these 3 planners, and for those of you who are not aware, so we're engaged in hiring a consultant to help us update our land use plan and zoning ordinance. So all 3 of those consultants we had a conversation with, and as a result of those conversations with not only the Imagine Montego Committee, but also members of the Planning Commission and members of City Council, they all felt like they could give us a better proposal if we gave them another opportunities to submit. So they are all in the process of revising their scopes of work. So on February 7th, I'll have the 3rd proposal from Keith Covington, and then I'll be distributing all 3 of those revised proposals to both the Planning Commission and the City Council and the Imagine Montego Steering Committee. Based on a conversation, I think at the December meeting with the mayor and aldermen, the mayor and aldermen are going to make the final decision on the consultant that we select based on recommendations from the steering committee, but the steering committee would like to hear from the Planning Commission. So again, y'all going to get an email from me with all 3 of those proposals on or about the 7th. If you get a chance, I'd love for you to review them and just send me your comments, and I will make sure that your comments make it into the steering committee meeting where we review the proposals, and that's going to happen on February 13th. The goal is to have a consultant selected that we can, as a city council, vote on at the February regular meeting, and then they can immediately begin the work. Most of the consultants have said this process is going to take between 8 and 10 months. However, they have also all said that they're willing to engage with us not only on intermediate development plans, so if a developer comes, help us through the process of getting that developer on board and getting that developer moving forward in a I guess what is perhaps a better timeline than we have sometimes done in the past, but also they're willing to help us through some of these questions that we've had, these sticky questions that we've had. So that's exciting. Obviously, it's not an open-ended, they have a scope of work, but they have all expressed a willingness to help us think about some of these questions. So I'm pretty excited, and that potentially could happen as soon as, if we can select one in February, then that could begin pretty quickly as soon as we can get a contract signed. So I'm excited about that process. It's going to be a lot of work for all of us because it's going to take a lot of time. We're going to dig into some of these land use questions that have come up in this body and in other bodies and try to get a zoning ordinance that can help move us forward in the ways that we want to move. So I'm pretty excited about the process. So, happy to take any questions, or I'll sit down. Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit on the agenda. Next, we're going to talk with Vision LLC, Meyer Platt.
And for the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you. We need the previous minutes from the last meeting. Everybody get a chance to review those? Any questions, anything we need to modify?
I make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those for?
Aye.
All against?
Mosley.
Okay, now I'm sorry. Vision LLC minor plat, Jonathan.
Yes.
I know this, we talked about this last month, and so what are we having today?
Yeah, so they have brought the plat. All the utility signature certificates have been signed. The only certificate left to be signed is the planning commission secretary. It's been reviewed. It's, it's a minor subdivision plat, it's minor split. They're basically making 3 properties, abandoning some lot lines, and just making it two lots. Both those lots have frontage. They have adequate frontage. They have, obviously, all the utilities have certified they have access to utilities.
All the utilities have been identified?
Yes, yes. So all utilities, departments have signed, sewer and water have signed, they have access. So this needs to be approved prior to the site plan. I believe site plan hopefully will be next month's meeting, but this is basically, I think our, stuff I think should be ready to go.
If I remember correctly, this was the only thing we didn't have at our last meeting. We discussed it, but we didn't have a copy of the plats.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the plat had, I think there was some miscommunication between the surveyor and the engineer, and the plat was not.
And you have reviewed these and they meet the expectations?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Does this make it one parcel? They talked about boundary lines. Is this one parcel?
Wants to know if it's one parcel.
Did it become one parcel?
So what they were doing, there's what it is currently, there are 3 different parcels. They are abandoning lot lines to now make it to 2 parcels. The one parcel, lot 1, is where the Hampton Inn will be, that will encompass the entire Hampton Inn property. And then I think the lot 2 is for future development.
The proper signatures are,
Yes, all signatures, utility certificates. I believe every plat has been signed on there, what I've been informed of.
any conversations, questions?
I move that the plat be approved.
I second it.
We have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those for?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
So Katie will sign all the plats, and then you'll give one of those to the developer to record. We can do that after the meeting.
Next on the agenda, staff and community reports. Jonathan, you had given us a little bit of information.
Yes, I believe at the last, and this, at the last board mayor alderman meeting, it was discussed about 2 different zoning issues. The first one was the convenience store amendment, zoning amendment that was recommended by the planning commission last year and passed by the board mayor alderman. I think there's some, I don't know exactly what the issues that arose in that, but the board mayor alderman wants the planning commission to address that. And they also want the planning commission to address retail and commercial as C3. So currently, the zoning ordinance only allows retail and commercial in C1 and C2 and does not have it as a use allowed in C3.
But that was not in our, we submitted 2 things to the council, right? One was to remove convenience stores from C1, and the other was to define convenience stores.
Yeah, I think that was
the only 2 things we sent out, right?
Yeah, that was, as you see in the, I included the signed amendment for convenience store. That's what was sent. That was all encompassed in one single
Those 2 things?
ordinance. Yes.
Okay.
But I think that's what they want to, I guess, revisit that. I don't know exactly what the revisiting is. And then-
Revisit, so what,
I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think there are a few aldermen here. They may be able to give more insight than I can.
Well, I was going to bring up a third thing. Last month I asked about whether or not a recommendation was ever made by the Planning Commission for criteria to evaluate use upon review or use by special exception. Were you able to find any information on that?
That was, I believe, that amendment was sent to the board mayor alderman and then rejected by the board mayor alderman.
I don't think we ever rejected that.
We were told that's what happened to it.
that has nothing to do with this though, right?
No, at least not.
But to answer that question, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen did not vote to send this back to y'all. I mean, I think Dean has a request that you look at it, but it did not come from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Okay.
Well, at the city meeting, I brought up to make a motion to amend the ordinance for C3 to allow retail in it. And then it was stated that before we could amend that ordinance, that it needed to go back to the Planning Commission for review and recommendation. And otherwise, it would, if we just did that and did not go before the Planning Commission, they said it would not hold. And so then the mayor said that he would have it on the agenda. I think there was 2 issues, I believe. And then I asked the question, if you review it and then make a recommendation, and you may say our recommendation is not to change it, then I asked if the council still has the authority to amend it anyway. And I think I asked you that at the last planning commission meeting.
Yes. So and I have this included. So this is, let's see what this is. This is right here. So this is per TCA, this is Tennessee Code annotated state law 137204. The zoning ordinance, including the maps, may from time to time be amended, but no amendment shall become effective unless it is first submitted to and approved by the Planning Commission, or if disapproved, receives a favorable vote of a majority of the entire membership of the chief legislative body.
And that's what you had told me the last time. And then I think Nate or the mayor or somebody said that last week at the city meeting.
So, yeah, it has to originate from Planning Commission. So, whoever, if it's an applicant trying to do it, or if the board mayor alderman asks the Planning Commission to, one of those two has to happen.
Well, and my question really went,
Yeah.
the main thing was to amend the ordinance, not create a new one or whatever. And it makes sense that it should go for review.
Mm-hmm.
But some were saying that the council had no say if the Planning Commission said we recommend it not be changed. And my argument was that the city council has final say.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if I'll say that's,
Okay.
it's the idea is it goes through the Planning Commission so they can review since they're,
Well, that's what muddied the water.
Yeah.
But it's still muddy to me, because what I was sent was we were gonna be asked to revisit the ordinance concerning convenience stores that were recommended and passed at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it really has nothing to do with it.
Well, actually, that was the other thing that the mayor was going to bring, said it would be discussed tonight, because I said I was going to make a motion for the council to consider to take those restrictions of the no more than 3,500 feet or whatever it was, and 5,000, and that it must be open 24/7 and all that. I had no problem with taking it out of C1. I think it needs to be out of C1. But my problem is I don't think the town of Monteagle needs to go to regulating how businesses, how many items of stock they have to have. It said something about the parking and pedestrian stuff, which would all be in their site plan and is regulated anyway.
So it has nothing to do with taking it out of C1?
No.
Okay.
No.
But there was 2 things on the ordinance. One was to take convenience stores out of C1. So that has nothing to do?
No.
Okay. The second thing that was sent to me was the discussion on They also want the planning commission to address retail and commercial in C3.
Yes.
So address meaning,
Recommend that it be left like it is, or recommend that retail be allowed in C3?
I think,
Up or down?
yeah, from a procedural standpoint, I think the situation.
the big question is to put commercial inside of the commercial.
In C3. It's already allowed in C1 and C2.
Okay, and that's,
Yeah. Yeah, so I think from a procedural standpoint, what we need right now is either the board, mayor, alderman do vote a motion to have the planning commission to write an amendment, or as allowed, a resident of Monte Eagle can do a zoning text amendment application to change it. Those are the only ways, two ways, I believe the planning commission has chosen in the past to address it. They don't want to address it unless there's an official application made. Sounds like no motion was actually made by the board, mayor, alderman.
I don't recall that. The mayor said he would, I made a motion to change it, and then they said that was not proper. And then the mayor said it will be on the agenda at the planning commission meeting, and the planning commission will deal with it.
it's on the agenda, but what I'm hearing is that we can't deal with it until one of those two things happens.
Well, I think either somebody needs, either the planning commission themselves can choose to draft an amendment if they want to. So that's one way. The board, mayor, alderman can make a motion at their next meeting to have the planning commission change the amendment, or a resident can make a zoning text amendment application.
I would say that however it comes up, it would be good for us to see an amendment, a proposed amendment rather than just a request that we revisit an ordinance. I don't know what the thought is that the ordinance would look like after we've revisited.
Well, my motion was just to amend the C3 uses to allow retail. There's two words there. I think retail and commercial is the verbiage on that.
Yes.
To allow that in C3, which you have that existing, and if you go back to the original planning commission documents, it's always been in there. And of course, there's lots of things that used to be in there that's not now. But anyway,
What I was talking about was the other request, that we revisit the ordinance about convenience stores. And I don't know.
Oh, those are two separate issues.
I agree. And before we should vote on anything, I'd like to see somebody put down on a piece of paper what they think it ought to look like after it's been revisited.
No,
Can I just apologize to Dean, because I chaired that last meeting, and my intent was not to circumvent this conversation. It was to make it clear that this was a petition by Dean as a resident, and I did not realize that it was something that needed to do in written form. So I did not. I'm just learning something, that there's a written petition that I didn't know about. I was not.
Well, that's just a third option, though, correct?
Yes, so that's the third option. So like I said, the planning commission themselves can decide they can direct me to write an amendment to bring to next month's meeting, reflecting whatever changes they want. The board, mayor, alderman can direct the planning commission to then direct me to do that, or a resident can make a application to change the amendment.
But when I made the motion,
Yeah.
it was the consensus that that's how it should be, and the mayor said, I will take care of it. So to me, that was an official action by the mayor. Mayor, were you acting as mayor when you did that, or were you a citizen?
I don't think we have enough information based on us getting this, though, Dean. I mean, it always said they also want the planning commission to address retail and commercial in C3. Well, address it how?
So whether it's allowed.
It's not what it said, so.
Well, that's fine. My position is, and then we can go to court or whatever, that at the February meeting, and it may not get 3 votes, but I will make a motion that retail and commercial be allowed in C3, period. Period. Nothing else.
You want to make that motion at the next council meeting, right?
That's what I did at the last council meeting, and they said it would not be proper, that we needed to send it to the planning commission, and the mayor said it will be taken care of.
Grant, what do you?
So I want to bring two things up real quick. Dean, if you want to do that, then basically what your motion would be at the next meeting would be, I make a motion and we'll vote on whether to send it to the planning commission for them to consider. Is that, Jonathan, is that what I'm hearing?
That is the way.
board
that's
would
the way
send,
the
would
board would
make
have
a
to do
vote
that.
to say, hey, planning commission, specifically go do this.
Yes.
Or the planning commission can do it on their own tonight.
If they so
If
choose.
they so desire.
Yeah. So my second question, a little bit unrelated, is, Jonathan, is the language, the definition that was used for convenience store, which has these 5 restrictions, or whatever you want to call them on it, did that come from general state language that is like other municipalities adopt typically?
My recollection of that was, it was brought in a workshop by, I think planning commissioner had gotten some just general stuff, I think maybe just from Google or wherever. And the planning commission, kind of looked at it and said, okay, these look like good general guidelines for convenience store, because you think of a convenience stores.
So you didn't bring these 5 items to their?
No, sir.
No, I was involved in that. We had a workshop, and basically, we had several definitions from the Convenience Store Association of America that had a definition of what it was. We had a NADAI, or whatever it is, definition. We had 5 or 6 definitions, and we combined those items. So I didn't know what an SKU was when they were putting it on there until I saw that in there. So,
And do we know if MTS or anybody else, urban development, anybody has typical definitions that municipalities can adopt for definitions of certain buildings or businesses?
Different municipalities throughout the country have different definitions. Some are, very far reaching. Some convenience stores can be pretty big stores. And then some are more catered more, like I saw some municipalities, and this was, I don't think they were even in Tennessee, but they were like, they had to be less than 3,000 square feet, which means it's a pretty small building. So it varies by, I think, whatever the municipality in that area wants it to be, and what they want to define convenience stores to be. And again, I think the time planning commission, looking at convenience stores mean more of like these smaller buildings where like a 7-Eleven or something like that, where you go in, you get some food, and then you go out.
Right. Okay, I was just curious if that was an adoption of a state language or not.
No, this is,
Okay.
as far as I'm aware, there is no state definition of convenience stores.
I mean, there was a lot of comparisons in there. I understand open 24 hours, and it may be overreaching, but there were a lot of comparisons. It being in an interstate area, exit area off the interstate. They used the reference of not classifying an old beer barn as a convenience store that sold beer and chips and that, and it was a drive-through. So there was all kind of reasons why that definition was there. Like I said, the 24 hours, but I think it says in the deal that 24 hours, it could be appealed, it could be whatever, overridden or whatever the case may be based on local jurisdiction. So we spent several hours in trying to define that. There was probably 10 or 15 of us in there, best I can recall, trying to define that.
We did look at what we thought would be appropriate for our area compared to, a big city, because some of these didn't, were different areas. But we have realized that in going through, all of our ordinances, we've got terms in there that don't have good definitions and can be interpreted in many different ways. And that's where we're going to be getting into trouble with different things that are coming forward. So this was our attempt to put a definition around something that had been brought up.
Yeah, we didn't change it from what it was. It didn't exist.
Right, yes.
Yeah, the definition of convenience stores in the old rules is awful. I mean, there's no way to, it's a 3-5 sentences maybe or something like that, and it gives really no definition other than, I thought it's It's literally like 4 sentences or something like that, so it probably did need to be defined. And I'm not disagreeing with your definition of it all. I just want to find out where it came from, so if we move forward and we have some knowledge where it started.
And setting convenience stores aside for a second, so basically, we're tasked at some point with addressing, putting retail and commercial in C3.
Yes, and it's my position that you have reviewed that right now. You have discussed it, and y'all have asked questions and received information. And is that not a review of that?
Not to me, it's not.
Okay, well, I guess we'll let the court, if it gets 3 votes.
If that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Hate that it's gotta go there. But
Well, I mean, it comes down to.
I just don't have enough information. I mean, I don't know
The
where
only
retail, I don't know
information
where
is
it
the
is
word
approved and
retail.
where it's not. I don't have all that in front of me. I mean, I'd have to study every
What do
bit.
you need?
I don't know. More than what I have.
The word retail and commercial?
Well, one thing that would help me, if the board of aldermen and the mayor want us to change this, is some indication of why. What's the argument against the current zoning ordinance?
Well, my argument is retail, this city receives almost $1 million a year in sales tax revenue. We are sales tax driven to operate this city. Why in a commercial zone that you can have a truck stop, but you can't have something else that sells retail? It doesn't make sense. It's overreach by the government of regulating the free enterprise system. And it all started, what started all of it was the Dollar General store. It was never an issue till that come up.
Well, we didn't put that language.
I know, but I'm just telling you when it came up. And the other night when I made the motion, the mayor said what he said and said the planning commission will deal with it. And it has been reviewed tonight. Now, you may take no action on it, or you may think, but it has been reviewed tonight.
Dean, I would
No.
disagree with that.
Well,
I
that's
think
fine. You have
what
it right.
we need, and this is Montgo's own regulations, you need either the planning commission tasks me with making an actual amendment, because there has to be an actual amendment to go to the board, mayor, alderman. You can't just do it by, you have to have an actual text, because that's what you sign and you have for your records. That's what makes, an ordinance. So either they task me, or the board, mayor, alderman task the planning commission, or you, as a private resident, make a zoning text amendment application, which then I can put into next month's meeting. So that way the planning commission has to then address either a yes or no vote, and then the board can take that up if it's a no vote, or take it up if it is a yes vote.
Well, we can debate it all night. I don't feel like the planning commission has enough information
That's fine.
to put it on the
The mayor
agenda.
said he'd take care of it, so the mayor has failed.
I didn't make that. I'm just telling you my position.
Well, I'm just telling you the facts.
I understand. These are facts also.
Well, what we got, it was a discussion item. It wasn't a voting item.
Yeah, I didn't prepare that, so I don't know.
Any other conversation about it from the commissioners?
None.
I think that we have residents in the town of Mont Eagle that are capable, Dean or any other person, to challenge these ordinances as they come up. He's right, the Dollar General store right down here in the old KO lot was what got this bucket of mud starting to stir. And we all decided to put together this five points. I'm looking at the 5 points right here. The square footage, the off-road parking, convenient pedestrian, so on and so forth. Convenience stores operating at 24/7. Convenience stores must offer a minimum of so many SKUs. The product mix of SKUs must include blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I agree in reality of the fact that Councilman Lay is concerned about overreach. And I voted against it. On the council, I voted against it, okay? So I guess you could say I stand with him on this. And if we can't act on it just by the method by which we're talking tonight, these stipulations, this ordinance, and what it does and what it doesn't do, what it shouldn't do maybe, we can't make a decision on that, then I'm sure it will go back to the city council and it will be dealt with. And we'll just have to see how it comes out. But in defense of the fact that as a planning commission, we just don't jump on every bandwagon that comes along and say, no, you can't build that there because this is over beside it, and whoever's living in over beside it could care less maybe, and we make these decisions. So I hate to say we make a shot in the dark sometimes, but I'd like for us to be more thorough.
But I think what we decided was that a Dollar General is a retail establishment. Retail establishments are not permitted in the zone where this property is located. I don't think there was any discussion, and I was here, of who was living nearby or what the adjacent property looked like. It's just that the property was not zoned for the use in question. And we were unwilling to rezone that tract because it would be spot zoning.
Yeah, I was going to say, it can't be anything but C3 if you look at that map, if that map is correct. That I told the mayor years ago, I think, before City Hall and stuff was here, this was a C2 probably. Because used to Sampley Street and beyond was C3. And of course it's been changed, but if you look at it today, I don't think it can be anything but a C3 without it being a spot zone. But you've got a spot zone on the other end of town down there at the old flea market for some reason. I mean, I don't know. You can look at the map and see, which has nothing to do with this. But the other thing that is upsetting to the citizens of Mont Eagle is one of the council members made the remarks that that's not the best use for that piece of property that the property owner owns. And it would be better for it to be a park or the ballpark or whatever. That's not on you guys. That's on, whoever made that remark. And then my argument goes back to what's best for the community, and that property owners have certain rights that are being taken away, and no consideration for property rights by the property owners. And the Institute of Justice and one other group, they've had constant litigation with Nashville about these issues.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can say and recommend, to the board, mayor, alderman, as you consider for your next city council meeting, please talk with your town attorney. So, I mean, like I said, I brought the regulations, show them the Tennessee Code annotated. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give legal advice. That's just based off my reading of how Tennessee Code, I've talked with Sam Elliott and see what his view on that, so that, you don't.
Well, we could ask him to ask and not cost us anything. We could ask Sam Elliott and pay $300 or $400.
Well, it sounds like we have a process, and I didn't realize that this was not a formal petition. And so we can now vote at the next meeting to ask the planning commission to look specifically at what you are requesting, sounds like. And that's the process to follow. Similarly, do I need to call for a vote at the next council meeting to ask the planning commission to send us selection criteria for use upon review? Because I don't think we ever saw it at the planning commission, at the city council.
Sorry, can I just make a recommendation real quick? This is kind of ridiculous. There's the two issues that we're dealing with. The definition of convenience stores, put that aside for right now, because that's going to be a longer term change if we want to change that, right? For right now, the planning commission can take a vote and ask Jonathan to draft an amendment to put to the ordinance to put retail back into what's it missing from retail and C3?
Yeah.
Okay. They can ask, and then you guys can discuss it and vote it up or down. And that way you don't have to wait until the council does something and then send it back to you, and then you send it back up.
Y'all are having a council meeting in here tonight, in our planning meeting, basically, is what's happening.
I mean, sorry, it's just,
I mean, if y'all are gonna have, we don't have enough information, I'm sorry.
okay.
I mean, if anybody disagrees, Alex, I see your hand up.
No, you don't.
No.
Okay,
I'm trying to get your attention
so
to the
it sounds like to me, y'all will bring back something to us when we meet Travis.
You know, I'm the guy that has to deal with this stuff out in the street. And if this is like the days of our lives in this town, I've kept my mouth shut so long. If I miss one council meeting or one planning meeting, I have no idea what happened. I wish we could get somewhere, focus on one thing, and stick with it. We're all over the place. We're always all over the place, and we never get anything accomplished. We just go in a big circle. And then I look like the imbecile in the public because I'm trying to recite what everybody says on the planning side and on the council side, but I'm the guy that looks like the idiot because I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's move on with the process and go where we've got to go with it.
I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
And Jonathan, draft an amendment.
He couldn't draft an amendment unless we voted and approved it.
Well, you can, like I said tonight, you can direct me to draft an amendment to, in this situation, especially for the retail commercial, it would just basically allow retail commercial in C3. And then the next meeting, you can either vote yes or no.
You can draft an amendment, it doesn't have to come through the council?
The planning commission can take it up, like I said, there's 3 official ways that this can happen. The planning commission themselves can do it. The board, mayor, alderman can direct the planning commission to do it. Which, like I think Grant and others said, that would mean that we would be delaying it another month. Or a citizen can have a zoning amendment application. You know, I think the reality right now is this is going to go.
We would have to take a vote on it and approve it for you to draw up the ordinance, right?
No, I can draw up the order if you direct me to say, you know, put it, because I think this one, particularly for the C3, for the retail commercial, it's either, all we can do is put it in an amendment to put it in C3. That's
So
the only thing you can
it would
do.
never be voted on by the planning commission?
It would have to be voted on at next month's meeting by the planning commission. This is just, I have to be instructed by you guys to draft an ordinance, an amendment. And then next meeting, you will discuss it, you will vote yes or no.
And then it would go back to the council again?
If it, again, the situation is, if you guys vote yes, it goes automatically.
Aren't we getting the same thing? If they vote to approve it and send it back to us?
It delays it again.
Well, essentially that what they would do, if they decide to do that next month meeting, what they would, I mean the February meeting, what they would do is they would direct the planning commission. The planning commission would then address it at the, you know, the March meeting, and you guys would tell me to draft the ordinance, and then that would be at the April meeting. So it would delay it a month, you know, delay it. I think the reality right now is someone's going to put.
Would it be on their March meeting?
What's that? Sorry.
I mean, if it comes back to us in March and you did that, wouldn't it be on their March meeting? It wouldn't be on theirs until April.
Unless you guys instruct me to make an amendment for the March meeting, it won't be on the agenda.
It's no different than any other
Yeah.
ordinance you prepare.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
It never comes to the city council unless it's a special reason. You are instructed many times by the planning commission to prepare an ordinance, are you not?
Yes, sir.
And then the planning commission votes up or down on it and sends it to the city council, correct?
Yes.
And so that would be the same thing that we're talking about here.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why. Yeah.
What
Sorry.
is the hurry?
The only question I have, do you understand what, everybody up there understands what C3 is that correct? And everybody up there understands what a retail establishment is that correct?
Yes.
Well,
I mean, I think we've beat the dead horse of that. That's the ordinance. All that Dean, I think, is trying to do is ask for, can a retail establishment be in C3? So one of you just needs to recommend it to vote on it, and then it can get killed at the planning commission, or it can get killed
Well, I
with
assume there's a reason that it's
council.
not in there.
So is this a procedural?
Who put it,
That's what I'm asking. If it's just a procedural thing, why not just vote on it? I mean,
Well,
essentially,
I-
all you're doing is delaying.
When we vote to approve a recommended ordinance, we have an ordinance in hand. And that's why we're not going to vote on it tonight.
It's not an ordinance.
But
it's
he's
a-
asking for you to direct him to prepare.
Yeah, you would be
That's all
proposing a
Jonathan's doing.
recommendation. And if you need a citizen, I mean, I know that technically there should have been an application for that. Dean's also a citizen, I'm a citizen. Why not just vote to recommend between you? It's gonna happen next month or this month, either way. All I see is a delay. And this is what we do. And I'm sorry, there's a little frustration in my voice because I've been through this, but essentially all you're doing is delaying a decision that you're gonna have to make next month. As a developer, private citizens trying to do business in this area, you guys deter a lot of developers from this area by constantly delaying stuff. To me, it's like, okay, one of you recommend it and vote, and we could be in a position. It's the same thing. It's whether you want it this meeting or do you want to delay Dean until next meeting. That's all that's happening, because he can go fill out this application, and it's going to be the exact same vote. Can we have retail establishment in C3? If you understand what C3 is, and you understand what the zoning ordinance says C3 is, and a retail establishment is, why not vote on that? As a planning commission, I would imagine you know what C3 is and what that retail establishment is. And I'm sorry, I'm being a little facetious there, but you know, I've sat here listening to this now for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
You know, going back to what you said about slowing down the development process, I've been on this commission for 3 years. And I don't know of one commercial development that we have approved that has broken ground.
well, and I
Not
mean,
one.
to give you
I mean,
an
think about
idea, in Franklin County,
It's all the
in
prep,
90
let me talk
days,
now. All the
I can
pressing
break
that
ground.
we do to get it done,
Yeah.
it may be a slow process to gather the information.
Right.
Sometimes it's a slow process because the people don't bring the information in here.
And I'm-
Sometimes it's
right.
communication. But of all that time I have been here, for over 3 years, not one ground has broken
Yeah,
on the
and I would,
commercial developments that we've approved.
and I would like
Taco
to,
Bell.
I'd like to see that change. I mean,
When I talk about, I stand corrected.
One.
you know, so that's my dilemma. I think everybody feels that.
Yeah, they're cookie cutters and so they know what to do.
And they opened up without a business permit.
And they, you know, and they built that thing in 30 days. So, but anyway, what do y'all want to do, guys? I'm listening.
Now, I want to make a motion that Jonathan draws up an amendment to this ordinance.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I second it.
This is to allow retail and commercial in C3. Dan?
That's correct.
Motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Is that correct?
Yeah, Dan Brown, second.
Dan?
Second.
All those for?
Aye.
Aye.
And how many do we get? I'll vote for.
Thank you for your time.
There's a lot of time. I saw you at lunch today. You didn't speak to me. Except yourself.
Oh, I did. I didn't see you.
I figured you were going to buy my lunch.
I meant to.
I'll be back in there. I'll let you know when I'm going next time. All right, okay. Any properly presented old business? Jonathan said no. One thing before we jump into, well, we'll go with new business. There's been a request of the commissioners to see if there was any legway, any footage on moving our 5 o'clock meeting to 4 o'clock.
Fine with me.
Katie's,
I don't care.
we got a, I don't care. Dan,
I'm good.
other Dan?
I'm all right with it.
Gotta stop working earlier.
Mayor? So, I guess we'll need to make sure we send that out with the notice.
So what I will do for next month's meeting is we have to do an amendment to the bylaws to change.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have a motion on moving the Monty Eagle
Well,
Municipal
it
Regional?
won't be until next month. I have to have an actual amendment showing the change.
Okay,
in the bylaws.
So we don't have to vote.
So I will draft that bylaw amendment for next month, and we can do that.
I move we deviate from the bylaws and meet at 4 o'clock next month. That's a motion.
Okay,
That's a motion.
Can we
oh, you have a motion?
I said I move we deviate from the bylaws and meet at 4 o'clock next month. A special schedule.
Special time change.
Special call meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah. So there we go, Jonathan, we bypassed you, man.
Well, I'll still bring the amendment. We'll just have to do a public notice for a special call meeting at 4 o'clock. But you guys will still have to change the regularly scheduled meeting to 4.
Okay, new business. Ed Provo has resigned as the chairman of the Regional Planning Committee due to some health issues. He has requested the mayor to remain on as a commissioner, even though will miss a few meetings because of his health situation, and I think you concur. So one, we want to give all our thoughts and prayers to Ed. He's a big old tough guy, but he still wants to play a role, and we want him to play a role. We need him at this table. So with that being said, we're going to need to have an election of a new president or chairman of the Montego Municipal Regional Planning Commission. And I am asking for nominations.
I nominate Richard Black.
Any other nominations?
Gotta have a
Nominate Alex Mosley.
We have Richard Black and Alec Mosley. Okay, I guess we vote. Okay, all of those for,
Well, actually, I should be the one so you can actually do the.
Huh?
I can do the chairman since you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do the chairman. Whoever's elected chairman can then do the vice and secretary. So we have a motion for Alec Mosley. We have a motion for Richard Black for nomination. Actually, I think probably should be a second for each. Can we get a second for either of them?
Do you have to have a second for a nomination?
I don't think so.
I guess not. Okay, so all those who vote for Alec as chairman. We have 2, Dan Brown and Richard Black. All those for Richard Black as chairman. We have 3. All right, so we have 3-2, so Richard Black is chairman.
Don't we have to elect all the officers?
yes.
So now, Richard, you will do nominations for vice and secretary.
yes. So now there's a vacancy for vice chairman. Do I have a motion for vice chairman?
Alec Mosley.
We have a motion for Alec Mosley. Any others? Do we vote?
Yes, you'll.
You did the voting before, so.
Well, you're chair now.
All those for Alec Mosley for vice chairman, raise your hand. Are we also voting for secretary? Presently, I think, Katie, you're our secretary, is that correct? You are? So we will be voting for new officers for secretary of the Municipal Regional Planning Committee. Do I have a motion for secretary?
I nominate Katie Tran.
We have a nomination for Katie. Anyone else? Let's vote. All of those for Katie Trahan, raise your hand. All those opposed? Katie. That was tough. When are you gonna get your voice back?
Last week.
Okay, any properly presented new business? Anybody? Jonathan, do we have anything else to discuss?
Only if there are hearings persons having business before the commission, so these are non-voting items. If somebody has something to bring before the commission, then you just can't vote on it, because they're not on the agenda.
Any conversation, questions, concerns, issues?
Thank you. Thank you all.
Move we adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
Second.
We got a second from Dan. All those for?
Aye.
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 All opposed?